Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
This town needs an enema, Chaos Kids. I'm Amber.
And I'm Naomi, and this is Crime, Wine, and Chaos.
Sure is. Oh, gosh. Hey,
Bat
sister.
dance!
Oh, my God. That song never gets old. That's on my playlist. It's so
It's
good.
on mine, too.
Perfect. As it should be.
Yeah, 100%.
Fucking.
I think there's a contingency of people out there that do not realize that Prince put out an entire album of original songs for Tim Burton's Batman.
Yeah, there are. And because I was going to say,
An entire album.
I can't tell you how many times I've been playing my playlist around people other than the Cool Cousin Club. And that song will come on and they're like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, what?
What do you mean? What is this? This is Prince.
Who the
First
fuck
of
are
all.
you? This is Bat Dance. Let me show you our routine. Sit down. Oh my God. How have you lived?
They haven't.
They haven't.
They haven't actually fully lived yet if they don't know about Bad Dance.
No,
and the entire album.
Yeah,
The entire album. Which I used to have on cassette, by the way.
I remember that. It had just the Batman logo on the front.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
Yep. Still the best Batman.
Still the best Batman. Sister, what is going on?
Thank you.
You're sick.
I'm sick again. Listen, Michael, everybody in his office is sick, and then he brought it home, and now everybody in this house is sick. And
You know, my whole hermit shut-in status is looking better and better every day. You know what I'm saying?
yes, but you have two people that live with you that go out into the world that could bring something home.
They do, but they spend most of their time locked away in their own room. We don't spend a lot of time in shared spaces together, so...
That's what I should have done with Michael. I should have created some sort of misery scenario where he's just locked up elsewhere.
Yes.
Oh my God.
You have a spare bedroom. It's all I'm saying.
I know. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Okay. Before we start recording, it's this no linear thoughts. It's like, no, you go. Now you go. No, you go. And at one point, completely off the cuff, I was going to say, I am moving my studio to downstairs.
Into the spare room?
Yes. After taking some measurements, I determined that the spare bed can, in fact, fit in this room. And so we're going to do a swapperoo. I need more space.
Well, yeah, you have a bigger chair.
I have a bigger chair. I work from home. It's just getting tighter and tighter and tighter in here. And I exist inside this
The walls
8
are
by
caving
8
in on you.
box, 40 plus hours a week. I'm just existing in this little cubby hole and I can't anymore.
I love that for you. Let me know how I can help.
Thank you. All that to say, that's the room that faces the main road. So I'm really hoping that doesn't turn into an audio issue.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out. Yep.
We might have to get some of that audio foam and just cover the window.
And then I'm in a cave again.
I mean,
it's okay.
You know, you got to do what's right for the podcast first.
Not your mental health, Amber. You don't need to go outside and touch grass. You need to fucking podcast. You dance for the man.
Just saying.
It's true. It's true.
What are you drinking today, sister?
Thank you for asking. I'm drinking water because I'm sick and there is no joy.
I don't drink ever, and I have plenty of joy. So,
Well, I don't not have joy because I'm not drinking. I not have joy because I'm sick. Also, we have a new Chaos Kid Club member.
We do.
Felicia L.
Felicia. Fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah. Bye, Felicia. Or,
no,
hi,
Felicia.
Oh, man. Welcome.
So glad to have you. That's amazing. Oh, sister.
Yes.
I have a crime for you.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm. We're going to go international today.
Ooh, abroad?
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you about Marianne Bachmeier.
Okay.
Marianne Bachmeier was born June 3rd,
Oh,
1950.
Other sissy's birthday.
She grew up in Sarstedt, a small town near Hiddelsheim, Lower Saxony in West Germany,
Okay.
where her parents had fled from East Prussia after the Second World War. Marianne was raised in a conservative home with devoutly religious parents. Her dad had been a member of the Waffen-SS, which was the combat branch of the Nazi Party's paramilitary Schutzstaffel organization, Hitler's army.
Uh-huh.
He was the stereotypical authoritarian figure, a heavy drinker, and he spent a lot of his time at a bar not far from where they lived. This was not a happy home, and drinking made her dad more aggressive.
Jeez.
Her parents got divorced, and her mom later remarried. Marianne described her stepdad as a dictator who saw her as trouble.
Her mom has a type.
She does.
That's too bad.
And her mom eventually kicked her out of the house.
Oh, because she was the problem.
Right.
Not the Nazi and the dictator.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense. It always comes back to the Nazis.
It really does.
Mm-hmm.
In 1966, when Marianne was 16, she gave birth to her first baby. She put this baby up for adoption when it was still an infant. She got pregnant again a couple years later at the age of 18 by her boyfriend at the time. She was also raped not long before the birth of this second baby, which she also put up for adoption as an infant.
God, this poor girl.
Right?
God.
In 1972, when she was 22 years old, Marianne began dating the manager of Tipasa, a pub where she worked, and she got pregnant again. She gave birth to her third child on the 14th of November, 1972. She named this baby Anna, and she raised her alone.
Okay.
Her solution to being a single mom was to take Anna to work with her at the pub.
Okay.
Marianne said she never felt a need to rush home after her regular hours behind the bar because Anna was with her.
Where you have a baby in a bar? Where is she putting Anna?
I don't know.
Is she just like bar backing with her or like what?
I don't know.
Okay.
Bar backing with her.
I mean, what are we doing?
I don't know.
Okay.
Marianne's shifts at the pub ended very late into the wee hours of the morning, which meant she slept a good chunk of the daytime, which of course left Anna on her own during the day. Marianne seemed to understand that this was problematic for raising a kid, and she talked about putting Anna up for adoption. Friends of Marianne would later say that she treated Anna like a little adult. From a very young age, Anna was expected to take care of a lot of things on her own. Anna quite often slept in the bar while Marianne partied.
Oh.
A friend of Marianne's would later describe Anna as vibrant, but lacking a good family life.
Oh. This poor kid.
Yeah. On May 5th of 1980, Anna, now 7 years old, gets into an argument with her mom. Anna decides she's going to skip school. And while she's out playing hooky, she encounters a man by the name of Klaus Grabowski. Grabowski is 35 years old and a butcher, and Anna has met him before when he had invited her to his house to play with his cats.
Oh, no. Also, she's 7 and just out freestyling around?
I guess.
Oh, my God.
On this day, Grabowski lured Anna to his apartment again, under the guise of playing with his cats. And then he proceeded to hold her at his apartment for several hours, sexually assaulted her, and ultimately strangled her with his fiance's pantyhose.
Oh.
He then placed her body in a cardboard box and dumped it near a canal.
Oh, this poor baby. God.
It would be mere hours after callously disposing of Anna's little body that Grabowski's fiance would call the police and tell them what had happened.
Okay.
I'm not sure if like he told her about it or if she was there and witnessed it. I that part I could not figure out.
Right.
But she turned him in.
Good. That's good.
So Grabowski was quickly arrested and confessed. But he claimed that Anna had threatened him and he killed her in retaliation. He said she seduced him.
Fuck right off. She is 7.
Yep. And then threatened to expose his abusive behavior towards her mom unless he gave Anna money.
Are you fucking kidding me? This piece of shit. Okay.
The community was shocked and outraged at this horrible crime. There was a huge public outpouring of support for Marianne, especially when they found out that Grabowski was a convicted sex offender and had been previously sentenced for the sexual abuse of 2 girls.
Wow.
In 1976, he had voluntarily submitted to chemical castration, which is basically drugs that diminish sexual drive and is not necessarily permanent once the drugs are no longer being administered. And he had worked through hormone treatment to reverse the effects.
He voluntarily did that?
Yes, but that he
undid it.
Undid that.
Okay.
Grabowski claimed it was his fear of going back to prison if Anna told anyone what he had done that led him to kill her.
This guy. My God.
Grabowski's trial started almost a year later on March 4th, 1981. Marianne was in the courtroom every day. And on the 3rd day of the trial, March 6th, Marianne calmly pulled out a .22 caliber Beretta pistol from her purse, approached Grabowski from behind, and fired 7 or 8 shots, I've seen both in various articles, with 6 bullets hitting Grabowski, killing him almost instantly.
Oh, shit.
Then Marianne lowered the gun and was apprehended by police without resistance.
Whoa. What? You said this is 1980?
1981.
There's not metal detectors to go into the courtroom?
Apparently not.
Wow. Holy shit.
And overnight, what had been a tragic local case of a sex offender committing a heinous crime against a child turned into a sensational international news story.
Yeah.
TV crews from around the country and the world traveled to Lübeck, Germany, to cover what would become one of the most well-known cases of vigilante justice in West Germany.
Shit.
Witnesses to the courtroom execution reported that after the shooting, Marianne made several chilling statements. Quote, "I wanted to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
He killed my daughter. I wanted to shoot him in the face, but I shot him in the back. I hope he dies."
Yeah.
And her demeanor was described as eerily composed. While Marianne sat in custody, tons of messages of support, gifts, and flowers arrived, letting her know that much of the public supported her.
Yeah.
But Marianne had sold her life story to the news magazine Stern for 100,000 Deutsche Marks, and once it was published, some of her public support waned.
Why?
Well, finding out her first 2 babies had been adopted out to loving families, she was no longer seen as a simple, innocent mother. Some questioned the authenticity of her grief and criticized her parenting, while others debated whether it was premeditated, cold-blooded murder or manslaughter.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't lose all support, though. Many people still stood with her and her actions, and the West Germany justice system was highly criticized for enabling a sex offender to use hormones to reverse his chemical castration.
What do you think about that as a... I don't know.
I mean, you know, I have a really, really tough relationship with crime and punishment in general.
Yeah. But he voluntarily did that. So why would the government have a say in whether he voluntarily reverses it?
Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
And also, placing 2 other kids for adoption doesn't make you a shit mom.
No, of course not.
I mean, the whole bar thing and like letting your 7-year-old just vibe however she wants, that's not great, but
No, it's not. But then you take it into consideration with the whole of Mariana's history
Yeah.
and her life experience. And I don't know.
certainly doesn't mean your daughter deserved to be. No, I mean,
Raped and murdered?
right. Yeah.
No.
Doesn't make it her fault.
And it doesn't mean that she's incapable of grieving that.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So more than a year and a half after gunning Grabowski down in court, Marianne went before the court on the 2nd of November, 1982, where she was initially charged with murder. And this is where I took a little detour into German murder laws. And lo and behold, again, it all goes back to the Nazis.
Of course it does. Mhm.
So apparently, a bunch of the laws in Germany still have their roots in the Nazi regime. According to an article in the BBC from 2014, there was a surviving statue still at that time in 2014. I'm not sure if it's still there today.
Mhm.
That means women who kill their abusive husbands are more likely to be jailed for murder than husbands who beat their wives to death. Let me explain.
Uh-huh.
According to the German Association of Lawyers, the Nazis decided that a murderer was someone who killed treacherously or sneakily. Heimtückisch is the word in the law, and it remains there today. Well, as of 2014, when this article I'm citing was written.
Okay.
This means that a man who beats his wife over many years, finally killing her, is less likely to be convicted of murder with a mandatory life sentence than to be convicted of manslaughter, which may mean, only 5 years in jail. The argument is that there was nothing sneaky or treacherous about the killing. It was frontal and direct and might have been expected.
So if you're brazen in your murder, then you're more culpable than if
You're less culpable.
You're less culpable.
The Nazis defined murder in the light of their belief that some people were inherently weak-minded. It was about defining a murderer as someone treacherous rather than looking at the circumstances of each individual crime. So East Germany had a different law, closer to the idea in the UK and many other countries that murder was about an intention to kill or cause serious injury. But with the unification of Germany in 1990, the law of West Germany became the law of the land. The Nazi law favored, and still favors, the strong who murder the weak. Somebody is guilty of murder, but not manslaughter if he abuses the victim's defenselessness, abusing the fact that the victim is not aware of any attack. But this is precisely how many women in abusive relationships end up killing their partner.
Uh-huh.
If the wife who is much weaker than her aggressor has no other chance than to find a moment when he is not aware of any attack and then kills him, for example, from behind with a knife or with another instrument or putting poison in his meals, she will be condemned as a murderer, and that means a life sentence.
That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. Also, you have to, when you're up against somebody who is much stronger than you, and oh my, that's the stupidest thing I've ever fucking heard.
So in Germany, statistically, battered women were more often convicted of murder than violent men. Women who suffered violence for many years premeditated the killing of their partner. Violent men who did not have to fear anything simply battered their wives until they were found dead.
Uh-huh.
Lawyers who want the law changed, or wanted, I don't know if it's been changed, I didn't dig it farther to find out, to bring it into line with countries like the UK and the US, cite the case of Marianne Bachmeier. The German legal system decided that what Marianne did could not be manslaughter despite the trauma caused to her by the death and abuse of her daughter. It had to be murder because the victim couldn't have expected the attack. He was, after all, in a courtroom. When the public heard she would be charged with murder, there was a big uproar across Germany. TV shows came on with titles like, "I'd Have Shot Him Too."
Yeah.
So after 4 weeks of convoluted legal arguments, the murder charge was finally dropped to manslaughter.
Okay.
In her trial, Marianne testified that when she shot Grabowski, it was like she was dreaming, even having visions of Anna in the courtroom with her.
Mm.
One evidence presented was a piece of paper where Mariana purportedly wrote, quote, "Mother did it for you, Anna," with 7 hearts drawn on there to represent Anna's age.
Oh, God.
In 1983, Mariana was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 6 years in prison. According to a poll conducted by the Allensbach Institute, 28% of Germans agreed with the sentence, 27% believed it was too severe, and 25% felt 6 years was not long enough. The last 20% were undecided.
Okay.
Years later, a friend of Mariana's would allege she had seen Mariana practicing shooting in the wine cellar below Tapasa prior to the courtroom shooting. 3 years after sentencing, in June of 1985, after serving just half her sentence, Mariana was released. That same year, she married a teacher, and in 1985, they relocated to a German camp in Nigeria where her husband taught German school. They divorced in 1990, and Mariana moved to Sicily, Italy, where she settled for a bit. She got a job as an aide in a hospice in Palermo. It was while living there that she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Oh.
Now facing a terminal illness, Mariana decided to return to Germany. In 1994, she published her autobiography. She did a TV interview in 1995 and admitted to deliberately killing Grabowski, explaining that she meant to ensure justice for Anna and to prevent Grabowski from having a platform in court to lie about her daughter.
No shit.
Mariana passed away on September 17th, 1996 at the age of 46. That's how old I am right now. Succumbing to her battle with cancer. She was laid to rest next to Anna in Bergtor Cemetery in Lübeck, Germany. The story of Anna and Mariana was told in 2 separate films released in 1984, Anna's Mother and No Time for Tears, The Bachmeier Case. Another film about these events was released in 1996 titled The Slow Death of Marianne Bachmeier. There was also at least 3 documentaries made about this case, including a 2017 episode of When Women Kill. And that is the story of Marianne Bachmeier.
Oh my God. This poor woman, her entire life was trauma. Her child, everything.
Yes.
And then died young of pancreatic cancer.
Yes.
Everything was bad for her.
Everything was bad for her.
That's awful.
There's a photo of her, like somebody caught it on film or photo. There's a photo of her like holding up the gun in the courtroom.
Jesus. Listen, as a mom, I can't say that I blame her.
Right? Like, I don't know if I would have it in me, but I can't condemn those that do.
I know. Oh, and
I mean, he was going to get up on the stand in a court of law for the record state that her 7-year-old fucking seduced him.
That is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. Yeah, that is absolutely disgusting. And she probably already feels so much guilt.
Right.
For the fact that her daughter was out there kind of unsupervised in the first place.
Exactly.
Oh my God, that poor woman, that poor little kid.
I know. Anna.
Sweet Anna. I wonder if her other biological children know
who their real mom is?
Yeah.
Or who their bio mom is?
Yeah. Wild.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know like what the adoption records were in Germany in the, late 60s.
So they obviously don't have anything in Germany that would be like equivalent to like the battered woman's defense here.
I don't know if they do now.
No, it took way too long for us to establish that here.
Right. Like I said, the article I found was from 2014. So that's over 10 years ago. But even just 10 years ago, they were still operating under that
Nazi law?
Legal framework set in place by Nazi logic, which is like, it's only murder if you do it on the sly.
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that is.
Because that makes you treacherous and sneaky.
Oh
you murder me to my face like a real man.
Murder me to my face.
Right?
Yeah, that's very odd. I hated that.
And then you only have to go to prison for 5 years.
Uh-huh.
It's that creeping up from behind shit we don't tolerate
Murder
around
meat
here.
in my face. That's so fucked up.
Right? And why does it always go back to the Nazis?
Because it always does.
Because it always does, because not some Nazis were held accountable, but Nazism never died. So
That's right. It's still alive and breathing in German law, apparently.
And lots of other places.
Yep,
yes.
for sure. For sure. Well, sister, I hated
there you
that.
go, sister. I'm
Thanks.
sorry. I can't. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Once again, we have like some weird sort of crossovers a little bit.
Okay.
A little tiny bit.
Yeah, I'm not, you know what? I'm not even surprised by that.
Mm-mm.
I expect it now. I fucking expect it from you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Are you ready for some chaos?
Always. You
Okay.
know, I don't know why you ask.
I don't know either. Let's talk about Jerry Springer.
Yes. Please, let's.
Okay, let's do it.
Fuck yes.
So we are going to Chicago in 1992.
What a time and what a place to be alive.
No kidding, right?
I mean, at that time, Chicago was like the center of daytime talk.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You had Jerry Springer, you had Oprah, you had Sally Jesse Raphael. They were all in Chicago.
Yes. It was
I think Jenny Jones was in Chicago too, wasn't she?
Might have been.
Maybe. I know that I'm sorry, Donahue. Donahue was in Chicago.
Oh, is he still alive?
I don't know. Maybe?
Yeah. His show was pretty good.
Chicago was hopping for the daytime talk show.
For sure.
That was where you had to be if you wanted that market.
Well, that's where Jerry Springer went when he wanted to launch a talk show. He said he wanted to start a show where viewers walked away feeling like they learned something about life that they didn't know before. I guess we got there, but
some of the things we learned we didn't need to know. Nor
yeah,
did we want to know.
No, I didn't know that before either, but thanks for that. Yeah.
Okay.
So he was the former mayor of Cincinnati. He had also done the evening news, where he was like an Emmy award-winning broadcaster, and he would always sign off saying, "Until next time, take care of yourself and each other," which he would go on to say at the end of every show.
It's like you're setting us up to think of Jerry Springer as some sort of pumpkin.
Well, he kind of was. So we'll get into it. Some sort of pumpkin.
Okay.
So he starts this talk show off, and it starts off as like a serious show, like Donahue or Oprah.
Right.
But his show was described as pretty unremarkable.
Oh.
There was a ton of talk shows on the air at that time. Jenny Jones, Ricky Lake, Maury Povich. Sally Jesse Raphael.
So many, you guys. So many.
Maury Povich also started as a serious show. It wasn't just a Who's Your Daddy every episode.
Right.
Yeah. Also, I've often wondered, like, he's married to Connie Chung, who's like a serious journalist. Like, does that embarrass her?
Your boyfriend is not a reflection of you.
Well, that's her husband.
I mean, what's the difference, really?
I know.
It's just a piece of paper.
That's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of competition. And because of this, the thing that mattered more than anything with the talk show were the ratings. And
well, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Jerry's ratings weren't great. One producer said they would actually have to go out to the street and convince people to come in and be part of the studio audience because nobody even wanted to go.
Right.
So as the ratings for the talk show start to tank, his time slot gets bumped, and pretty soon what was supposed to be a daytime talk show was moved to like a 1 a.m. time slot.
Uh-huh.
God. So that's like the last stop before being canceled, right?
Right.
So they're like, we have to do something really major to save this show. So in comes producer Richard Dominic. I hate this guy.
Okay.
Richard takes over the show.
Uh-huh.
He becomes the executive producer, and he says that the show needs a drastic makeover because it's boring as fuck.
Okay.
And he wants it to be sexy and daring and over the top, right?
Uh-huh.
And he was somebody who had worked for the tabloids for many years.
Okay.
He was the guy that was like in charge of some of the outrageous headlines, like I had sex with an alien and gave birth to half alien, half
Weekly World News
Yes.
type shit.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. So Richard tells him, "You're already on in the middle of the night. So let's do a middle of the night show."
Let's just roll with it. Let's just lean in, guys. Let's just
Yeah.
lean in.
So Jerry agrees. And Richard would put on any guest that he could get away with without getting canceled. Like, there's no rules anymore.
Oh, just like that. Just on a dime, overnight.
Yes.
No rules.
No rules. Yes. It was Richard who told the rest of the crew that when Jerry comes out to host the show, he wanted everyone on their feet chanting Jerry because he wanted to make Jerry seem like more fly than he actually was, like a fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Because Jerry was like such a geek.
He's such a geek.
Right?
Yeah. And the higher ups, they did not like Richard and they threatened to cancel the show like more than once. But then the ratings started coming in and they were like through the roof.
The 1 a.m. slot was through the roof.
Yes.
People were coming home drunk from the bar and putting on Jerry
Like, you gotta see this shit.
It's amazing.
So amazing. There was a custodian at my last job that at one point, Jerry Springer was on some station that just played Jerry Springer shows all day. And it was always on in the break room at work. Just nothing but Jerry Springer.
You have to also understand what younger people might not recognize is that like in the early 90s, cable TV was a thing,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't have like hundreds of stations to choose from yet. We had like, I don't know, at that point, maybe 99, which is still a lot, but at the time, it was a lot at the time, but the market was still small enough that your show could be found.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you can get satellite radio now or satellite TV now and have like, 900 stations. I mean, I know like a couple hundred of those are like music stations, but you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like,
for sure. Yeah.
Like we went from 100 stations to choose from to like 1,000 stations to choose from. So it's like, it's a totally different saturation of the market at that point.
For sure. Yeah. Ugh, wild. So his ratings go through the roof. So he gets moved back to his daytime spot. So Richard was like, great, the show is safe because it's bringing in huge amounts of money. And he decided to make the guests and the stories even more outrageous.
We're just going to keep pushing that envelope.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All of the producers on the show described Richard as angry and scary and really unapproachable. And Jerry was really nice and kind and was kind of described as like someone that you would want to have as your dad.
Oh my God.
He was just like Oakley dokley, just whatever,
He was Ned Flanders.
Yes. And he was just like along for the ride and he didn't really seem to understand the culture that was going on behind the scenes with like Richard being scary and mean to the employees.
And this was also during the rise of like, and I think there's a documentary that just came out recently about this guy. This was like right before the beginning of the rise of like Girls Gone Wild and shit like that.
Yes. Yes. He was like this, like outrageously disgusting reality TV kind of started here.
Yep.
So Richard even went on record saying one time, if he could execute someone on TV and get away with it, he would.
Holy shit.
Uh-huh. This guy was like, whatever is fair game. So one show in particular, the guests were members of the KKK, and it spiraled really quickly and turned into like a massive physical fight on stage. It was just like chaos. And that show...
But there was no Steve yet.
There was no Steve. But that show got huge ratings.
Sure.
But also, like, back to a wink and a nod to your episode or your story, Jerry was like super uncomfortable with this episode because he is the son of like Holocaust survivors.
Right.
And he's talking to these like white supremacists. It was just bad. It was bad, but it got huge ratings. So Richard's like, woohoo, keep on keeping on. We don't care, right?
Oh
We
my
need to do
God.
this every time. We need to have the chair throwing and the punching and the hair pulling every time because that's where the ratings are.
Ugh. Also, does anybody have a line on a bodyguard that we could throw up on stage because we're going to need it now?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's how Steve got a job and ultimately his own show.
Which was just so gross. All of that was yes. So pretty soon the show was being protested by Christians who wanted to preserve family values and whatnot.
I mean, sure.
Sure. And Jerry goes before the city council in Chicago and says that it's just a TV show. It's for entertainment. Just relax.
It's just showbiz, guys.
Yeah. Calm down. Everybody relax, calm down. The show must go on.
Oh my God.
Mhm. So there were 200 shows per year. And the pressure on all of the producers to get that many outrageous stories was like intense.
Right.
Some of the former producers said that they basically lived at the studio working round the clock to track down stories that would outdo the last episode. Because if they didn't, you would have Richard to deal with. And the sad thing was that a lot of the guests that came on were excited to come and like they thought they were going to get some help because they believed they were like, I don't know what they thought.
Did they not watch the show before they agreed to be on it?
I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Producers have something called the Springer Triangle, which goes from Tennessee to Ohio to Georgia, which is like roughly 75% of the guests that appeared on the show came from that area. So it's like a lot of small town folks who they're told that a limo is sent to their home to pick them up to the airport. Then they're flown to Chicago where another limo picks them up and takes them to this nice hotel. And some people had never been on a plane before. They're given vouchers for food and drinks at fancy restaurants. They have the red carpet rolled out for them, right?
Yep.
And then they get to the studio at like 6:00 the following morning, and the producers would coach them on how to react once they got on stage.
Oh.
And they would role play and get the guests really riled up and angry so that when they confronted whoever they were there to confront, they were like already at a 10 and ready to go. And if guests were really quiet and kind and sort of meek, the producers would get them all pissed off and make sure that they understood how important it was to get really fucking pissed and ready to throw a chair once they got on stage. So this is really sad to me. Just like exploiting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vulnerable people.
Yes. Uh-huh.
You know, I had an English teacher in high school, an AP English teacher who had been on a segment. He'd been on a segment with Maria Shriver that landed him on an episode of Donahue that then resulted in an offer from Oprah to be on her show.
Really?
That he ended up turning down. Yeah, his wife and him were part of some group in Seattle called like something like Simple Living or something like that, where they were basically like eschewing like consumerism and all that kind of stuff. And Maria Shriver had heard about the group and heard about him and his wife and ended up interviewing him and his wife and then did a segment about them on this whole concept of simple living. This was back in like the late 80s, early 90s, right?
Yeah.
So it was still like a new idea or whatever, like anti-consumerism stuff. So Donahue saw this segment. They reached out and had them come out and be on the show. And it was very much like that. Like they stayed in this fancy hotel. A limo picked them up from the hotel, took them to the studio to do the episode. They filmed their episode the same day that Donahue interviewed Louis Farrakhan.
I don't know who that is.
He is their group is called the Islamic Brotherhood. They're like Black Islamics in America, like Black American Islamics.
Uh-huh.
And infamous for always wearing like a suit and a bow tie.
Okay.
But when he was there, like they had to stay in the green room because like Farrakhan insisted that no one was allowed to like be anywhere near him.
Oh.
So like my English teacher was like, had to use the bathroom, and he was like followed to the bathroom by one of Farrakhan's bodyguards and like watched over while he was in the bathroom and stuff.
Weird.
So anyway, by the time they got back from this extravagant trip to Chicago, I believe it was Chicago, to be on Donahue, and then Oprah called, they were like, this is not simple. This is not simple living. And we're done with that. So they literally turned Oprah down.
Wow. God. And this was pre-Zoom call where they could have just appeared that way. Yeah.
Right.
Like, literally, I don't want to be on a plane and in a fancy hotel. That's literally the whole point.
Yes.
Wow. The irony.
Anyway, sorry.
Wow. Well, way to walk the walk. Good for your English teacher.
Totally. Oh, he was a really cool dude.
Yeah.
He was a really cool dude. Yeah. I can't remember his name now. Somebody I went to high school with remembers who this guy is. But anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to what's not that. Back to Jerry Springer. One of the former producers compared the treatment of the guests to the Stanford prison experiment, where they would basically play with their psyches until they got the results that they wanted.
Uh-huh.
It's so gross.
It's disgusting.
Yep. In the late 90s, one of the episodes put out was a man who married his horse.
I feel like I vaguely recall this.
There's footage. He came out on stage with his horse and they were making out.
What?
Uh-huh. And the show first aired in New York and then immediately got pulled. And then Jerry got all this bad publicity for basically promoting bestiality. But
no publicity is bad publicity.
That's
Richard
right.
will tell you that.
That's right, because this is when they officially bumped Oprah out of the number one spot. And Jerry Springer became the first talk show to ever beat Oprah in the ratings.
That
Yeah.
is amazing.
That tells you a lot about the consumers of
I mean, look, we have a lot to be mad at Oprah about, okay? We do.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Jerry never
she
became
had-
a spiritual leader.
Right.
Mm-mm.
And Jerry, as far as I know, did not platform and elevate into the public sector like grifters.
Right.
Who have gone on to grift millions, if not billions of dollars from Americans.
Right.
Yep. Okay.
So this is when Jerry starts appearing on like Jay Leno, Letterman, and Conan, and he's like a cultural icon.
So now Jerry's the story.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's just so weird.
It's all so weird.
So as far as the guests on the show, there was no real concern from any of the producers what happened to them after they went back home.
Of course. I mean, this is like that episode of Jenny Jones that you covered.
Oh, God, that was devastating.
Way back when.
Way
in the
early
days
on.
of the podcast. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
No, that's not our fault. Whatever happens after we say cut, that's not us. That's on them.
Exactly. And Richard is telling the producers, if you don't hit these numbers, you're fired. You're gone.
Sure.
Yep. And so this is when the fighting on the show got even more amped up to the point where some guests needed to be taken to the hospital after the show.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And a whole bunch of guests came out and said that even though their stories were real, they rehearsed the confrontation before going out on the show, like backstage.
With the people they confronted?
No, they would role play with the producers.
Oh my God.
Uh-huh. And they were like, you need to like pull out hair, throw punches, like you got to get violent. Mm-hmm.
So was Steve just window dressing at that point?
I don't know. Steve doesn't make an appearance in this story. I'm not really sure.
But Steve is like integral.
I know. I'm really sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm just trying to figure out like, well then why is like what the point of Steve even is at that point?
I don't really know.
Just to like make it look like he's breaking up fights?
they didn't want people to actually like die or like be, you know what I'm saying? Like they would let it go for a little while before Steve intervened.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the other fireable offenses was if Richard found out that any of the stories were fake. And
so this had to be real.
Mm-hmm. One longtime producer was fired when a show that she planned turned out to be a fake story, and it wasn't realized until they came out on stage And it was clearly fake, and they were fake fighting. Like, it was obvious. It was bad.
Oh.
And so she was immediately terminated.
I mean, if you had the pressure that these producers had to come up with stories all the time, because this was a 5 days a week show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And remember how, like, at the end of every show, all talk shows, it would be like, if you have a story, call blah, 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 blah. All the producers were taking those calls, and then they would have to vet like the legitimacy of all of this. And it just sounds like a lot. 200 shows a year.
Sounds like a shitty job to me.
Oh my God. So shitty. So
I don't care how much you want to be in television. You know what I'm saying?
No. Yeah. Not this much. What the fuck are we doing? So then a guest named Nancy Campbell, who went by Nan, comes on the show. Nan was a single mom to 2 boys. One of them is Jeffrey, and she was a widow. Nan met a man named Ralph from Germany who she met through an AOL chat room. He moved out and they got married, but it wasn't long before Ralph became physically abusive, so Nan kicked him out. In May of 2000, Nan agrees to go on the Jerry Springer show, hoping to get Ralph back.
What?
Yeah. Also, to quote Ali Sheedy, like Ralph, as in puke. Yeah. This poor woman, she was a widow. She was lonely. She meets this guy on AOL chat room. He sucks, but she wants him back now. So she's going to go on the Jerry Springer show to like try and get her man back. He's dating someone new and she's hurt and she wants her husband back.
Oh, Nan.
Yep. Uh-huh. And her son Jeffrey says that his mom was really, really kind and really quiet. And she was someone who didn't ever even want to have her picture taken. So the fact that she agreed to go on TV was like really surprising to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that his mom was under the assumption that Ralph had been deported and that the show was going to pay for him to fly back to the US and that maybe then they could hopefully like reconcile.
Okay.
Uh-huh. And she was hoping that he would tell his new girlfriend that he wanted to be with her. But unfortunately, what actually happened is that Nan was just ambushed on the show. She is met on stage by Ralph's girlfriend, who was like telling her to like get a life and leave my man alone. And, you know, he doesn't want to be with you, blah, blah, blah. Right.
Okay.
And the title of this episode was Secret Mistress. And Nan had no idea that that was what was happening.
Oh,
she thought it was like, my husband's been deported, bring him back. You know.
Right.
So Ralph comes out. Ralph is puke. He is puke. He has a mullet. He has a fucking mullet. He comes out beaten on his chest like King Kong, like he's the shit.
In 2000. He has a mullet in 2000.
There's no excuse for this mullet. Yeah. So Nan and girlfriend are sitting on stage. Ralph comes out, gives both of them a kiss, sits down in between the two of them like I'm the shit because they all want me, right?
Oh my God.
Yep. And he ultimately says that he wants to be with his girlfriend and not with Nan. And the producers are trying to egg her on and get her to become violent with the girlfriend. But Nan just looks, it's so sad. You could see the look on her face. She just looks humiliated and defeated, and she just gets up and leaves.
Good for Nan.
Uh-huh. She says, if he doesn't want to be with me, that's fine. And she just walks off stage.
And scene.
Mm-hmm. And backstage, she is told that if she doesn't get back out there, they would not pay for her flight back home to Florida, which was a tactic that they often used with guests in order to get them to do what they wanted.
Oh, that is so fucked.
But Nan was like, I'm not going back out there. You guys lied to me. And she left.
Good.
But she is now alone in Chicago without any money, just walking down the street of Chicago in the rain. And she finds her way to the bus station, and a good Samaritan saw that she was like in distress, and he bought her a bus ticket home.
Well, that was nice of him.
Mm-hmm. And nobody from the show ever even checked to make sure she got home. Like that was...
Of course.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So Jeffrey says that after the taping, his mom was more determined than ever to go on with her life without puke. But
Okay.
A few months later, the two got back together.
Oh.
Nan put money down on a new home for them, which was money that she really didn't have, but it wasn't long before Ralph became violent again. And this time, Ralph kicked her out of her home.
What?
Yes. So Nan got an attorney, and according to her attorney, Nan was like really fucking done with him this time. She wanted to get Ralph out of her house so that she could move back in. So in July of 2000, Nan goes to court with her attorney. She's granted sole ownership of her home, and she is given a restraining order against Ralph.
Good.
So Nan was relieved. She's ready to move on. Ralph left the courtroom pretty calmly, but after court, he went to a bar, sat down in the bar, and his episode of the Jerry Springer Show was playing in the bar.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
No fucking way.
Yes, fucking way.
Wild.
So he sat in the bar watching the show, getting more and more intoxicated and more agitated. One witness in the bar said that they heard Ralph say, "I'm going to kill her." Major trigger warning for domestic violence.
Oh my God.
So Ralph goes to Nan's house and kills her by stomping on her head. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've talked about like the hammer. It's the head. It's the head. It's not the hammer. It's not the boot. It's the head.
Mm-hmm.
It's the attacking the head is so.
It's awful. It's so awful. Yeah. So now Ralph and his, what was girlfriend, now wife, Eleanor, their pictures are all over the news as wanted suspects. And it's not long before they're both arrested. Eleanor was later released and not charged. The show didn't take any responsibility and were heavily scrutinized by the media for not vetting Ralph and learning that he was violent in the past or offering Nan any kind of protection or counseling after the show. Ralph was found guilty of second-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison, which was the maximum sentence under Florida law. During sentencing, the judge said, quote, "To Jerry Springer and the producers, are ratings more important than human life? Shame on you."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nan's son, Jeffrey, says that this incident turned his mom into a former Jerry Springer guest rather than who she was, which was a kind woman who raised two boys on her own.
Oh.
I know.
Nan.
The show was never held accountable for what happened to Nan, and the show went on with high ratings even after the trial. It wasn't canceled until 2018. By that time, Jerry Springer's estimated net worth was more than $60 million.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Jerry Springer died in 2023 at the age of 79 from pancreatic cancer.
Pancreatic cancer.
I know. We've got Germans, we've got Nazis, we've got pancreatic cancer. Get out of my brain.
What is going on?
I don't know. And that's Jerry Springer.
Wow.
Wild.
I mean, I guess Jerry wasn't a total pumpkin because he didn't do anything different after that happened with Nan.
No.
He didn't take any responsibility himself. He didn't.
No. He started off
Just
as
like-
a pumpkin.
Just like Jenny Jones.
The money and the ratings
Mattered the most.
mattered the most. Yep.
Holy shit. I'd never heard about that.
Isn't that awful?
It is horrible.
It's like you can see the look on her face when she realizes what's happening.
Oh.
And it's so sad. It's so sad.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that means that Jerry Springer ran for like 26 years or
Yeah,
something?
gross. And
Unbelievable.
people ate it up that whole time.
Unreal.
Yeah. So gross. Ugh.
Oh, well, I guess thanks for that, sister.
You're
Hated
welcome.
it.
Sorry.
Hated it.
Hated yours too. Hated
You
it
know
all.
what? Turnabout's fair play, I guess.
That's
So-
right. Hey,
Well, we did it.
we did it. Be like Felicia. Join the club.
Hi, Felicia.
Hi, Felicia.
Join the club. Patreon.com/crime, wine, and chaos.
That's
$5 a month. You get a extra episode every month. You get new episodes a day early.
Mhm.
And we have virtual wine nights with our Patreon members.
That's
So come be a Chaos Kids Club member and hang out with us. You can actually join the Patreon as a non-paying member, and you can see what we post over there that's not behind the paywall, too. We hang out over there.
We
So-
do. We post episode pics over there. You can leave comments. We'll respond to you over there.
100%.
Honey P.
Honey P. And, give us a rating. Wherever you're listening to us, give us a rating. If you're listening on an Apple product in the Apple podcast, then you can go type a rating. You can give us an actual
Typey.
written rating. Yes, that would be
Typey,
amazing.
typey. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Sister, I love you.
Love
but
you.
That was so,
So
chaotic.
chaotic. Goodbye.
Bye.
Crime, Wine, and Chaos is produced by 8th Direction Records. Artwork by Joshua M. Davis. Music by Paul Abner. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our Patreon page at Crime, Wine, and Chaos /Patreon. Cheers. Please hold. I'm just a faucet. Uh-huh. Here's your Easter egg. Amber is full of mucus. Thanks, everybody. Okay.